Hi everyone, I'm Ian Harvey, massage therapist. Today we're going to talk about how to use our thumbs in a safe and effective way. A lot of what you hear from teachers these days is about how to use your thumbs less or not at all, but I like using my thumbs. My thumbs are useful, they're versatile, and they feel good on the body. And also my opposable thumbs are part of what make me human. So, today we're going to talk about how to use them in a safe way, but if you already have thumb pain and you're here because of that, instead I'd like you to watch my video. I've got an entire video on thumb rehab, on how to take a thumb vacation, on how to do some stretching and strengthening, and I've also got an entire video on how to do a thumbless massage. If you'd like to see either of those, click on the links down in the description. By the way, I'm also making a video today just for my patrons about the worst things that I do with my thumbs during a massage, so if you'd like to see that, click on the link down in the description. The key to using your thumbs safely during a massage is to use them how they want to be used. It's to use them in positions of power rather than in positions of weakness. You can tell if you are in a weak position with your thumbs if they feel a little bit shaky, or if you feel like you're having to muscle through a technique. If it feels like, oh, if only I were a little bit stronger, I could do this move more effectively, then don't do that move at all. Your thumbs are already powerful, and your thumbs are most powerful in this position, in this straight jointed position where your interphalangeal joint, your metacarpophalangeal joint, and your carpometacarpal joint are all stacked. And whenever you press, you're able to compress these joints rather than working at them from the side or anything like that. We'll talk more about that in a second. And that leads me to my first rule of thumb, which is to use your thumb in a position in which you could do a push-up. So find a patch of wall and place your fingertips and thumb on the wall and just press into it. We're just doing some light 5-pound push-ups. And you'll notice what is most natural for my thumbs here, which is all of these straight joints. Play around with that a bit, and I think you'll find that you can use your hands in different orientations, so different amounts of supination and pronation, and even with just your thumbs, especially if your thumbs are close to the rest of your hand. We'll talk more about that in a second. But first, let's see that push-up position with a client. And this is my friend Summer.
Hello.
Another great way of demonstrating that straight thumb position, other than doing push-ups on the wall, is to do some shiatsu, in which case you will press in directly into these erector spinae muscles. Shiatsu practitioners frequently use these very straight, very powerful thumbs for a lot of interesting pinpoint compression. They'll use their thumb tips, they'll also use their thumb pads and this interphalangeal joint. So, it doesn't need to be all of those joints being straight at the same time. It can also be this joint right here. This is another great joint on which to do push-ups. Now that I've got some oil on the body, I can use my thumbs to do some stripping. Notice that this is very different from this. This takes a lot of effort. It feels good, but this can be very quickly fatiguing, versus this. I'm letting my body weight do the work here. I'm creating this straight line, and then I'm applying it. That allows all of these intrinsic hand muscles to act as stabilizers, rather than having to do these powerful repetitions of these adduction movements. The second rule of thumb is to keep your thumb close to the rest of your hand. So if I'm keeping my thumb way far out, that can be a position of stress for your thumbs. Even if you're using mostly straight joints, the farther this thumb is from the rest of your hand, the less leverage these intrinsic hand muscles have to act as the powerful adductors that they are. So if I'm going to sink into the QL muscle, I'd like to use thumbs that are close to the rest of my hand. That will look something like this. Versus having my hands way far away and expecting my thumbs to just deal with having that poor leverage. The third rule of thumb is to create these shapes with your hands and then apply them. So instead of making dynamic movements where your thumbs are always changing positions, instead create the shape that you'd like to use for your massage technique and then use the rest of your body to apply it. So I'm going to be moving my elbows and my forearms here. I'm going to sink in to the QL region, and I'm going to do a long, slow steamroller past the QL. So this is kind of a spreading of the quadratus lumborum. The same for this strip down both sides of the forearm. It might look like this is an extremely effortful move for me or an awkward angle for my hand, my wrist, or my thumb, but what I'm doing is I'm creating this C shape with my hand and then I apply it. It makes it, one, a nice solid clamp for both sides of the forearm, and two, it makes it nearly effortless for my thumb. All my thumb muscles are having to do is act as stabilizers right now, rather than having to do any big, impressive feats of power. And that brings me to my fourth rule, which is to double up when possible. So I've got my hands side by side here. My thumbs are supporting each other just by being near each other. So they're acting as stabilizers for one another. And here I'm going to strip out laterally in this anterior compartment. And all I'm doing is making this shape and sinking it toward the ground using my body weight. I'm not doing some amazing feat of strength with my thumbs. Instead, I make that shape, my thumbs are supporting each other, and I'm only having to use half as much pressure, half as much power with each hand because I'm using two. If I were trying to do this same amount of pressure with one hand, that could quickly become fatiguing. And I'll do that same thing when I'm working with the trapezius, especially on people who like a lot of pressure. I can put my thumbs right next to each other and grasp up this entire trapezius using two thumbs instead of one. So we talked about this frequent use for the thumbs, which is to do this overlapping stripping, but there are some good alternatives to that, like using fingertips. You can even overlap, just like you would with your thumbs. 4 fingers together, especially straight like this in this spear hand position, is much more powerful than a thumb could ever be. You can do the same thing with your knuckles. These pinpoint knuckles, they're in a powerful position because they're in this door knocking position. That is a position of strength for them. So just like with the thumbs, find the ergonomic positions for these different parts of your hands. And you can even move them independently. So I'm doing this with my knuckles. And that can feel very much like overlapping thumbs or even better. And something that I'd like to mention is the covered thumb. Looks something like this. People use it to apply very deep pressure using their thumbs. They will apply their thumb, place their other hand over top, and use this palmar pressure to apply pressure through this thumb, but I don't really know how to do this one. I've never found a way that feels comfortable for me, so if you have any tips on doing this covered thumb technique, tell us about it down in the comments. So that's how I use my thumbs during massage. Find positions that make your thumbs feel safe and stable, rather than trying to power through something that feels shaky and unstable. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks for new massage therapists for ways that you use your thumbs. Thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.